excited about this. Please do keep those suggestions coming in. Danny et al., you'll be pleased to know it's time for another VT. It's GOOWX, and I'm very pleased to welcome into the studio Morris. Hello, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon and good evening for those around the world.
Morris, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. We're very, very lucky. Many times on this show, and your comments have come in, I've been absolutely intrigued and, just interested in this whole concept of uncertainty and confusion being something we should look at. And you've kindly agreed to just give us a taster and some thought prompting stuff on what that actually means. So for this version of GOOWX, I'm going to add your details to the stage. And the stage, sir, is yours.
Thank you so much. So thank you for the invitation, Martin. And hello, everybody. For those who don't know me, my background has been contact centers since the beginning of contact centers. And I've always worked at the leading edge of the technology because when you're at the front, you can't do anything wrong. It doesn't always work, but you can't do anything wrong. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to briefly take you through just a couple of ideas around something that you can actually fix in your contact center, and that's to do with uncertainty. And I struggled when Martin and I talked about me doing this. I struggled with the idea of what I could teach you in 10 minutes that would be useful. So what I've done is I've created a little e-booklet, for want of a better term, with a guide to uncertainty, a step-to-step guide of things you can do. And I'm just going to take you through that very quickly, but I'm not going to cover all of the details. So, there'll be time for questions at the end. I'm not going to take that long to do it. But I'm just going to take you through. Please grab hold of the booklet. So why is doubt important? Well, doubt is one of the most common failures we have. There are lots of different kinds of doubt, and I'm going to talk about that very briefly. And it's very expensive. So, what came up just before in Martin's comments was the usual thing about contact centers being cost centers. They're cost centers when they're not efficient. And doubt is a kind of inefficiency. It's something that we can actively address. It doesn't. I work in the world of advanced AI, and those of you interested in auto QA, please hit me up. I can bore for England on the subject. But this is about what you can do, your team, without any technology. All right, I do mention using a spreadsheet, but actually you can do stuff starting tomorrow to reduce cost. So doubt is a series of things, and those series of things are really made up of behaviors, contexts, emotions, habits, and what you're gonna want to do is just to start to notice these different things happening in the conversations you're listening to in QA or when you're doing your training reviews, and identifying the things that you can do to improve them. You see, I did a study at work of 10 million interactions. And basically, when confusion, when doubt, when hesitation, when all of these things happen, what you see is a 50% increase in average handling time. And that 50% increase in average handling time, it has a huge cost impact. In addition to that, not only does it have a direct cost impact on your fixed cost, but also people will call back because they're not sure that they got the right information. In addition to that, no one wants to be made to feel stupid. And if I feel stupid after I've had a phone call with you, then probably I'm not going to phone you back again. Yeah, confusion is a silent customer relationship killer. It will end your customer life cycle. If you make me feel stupid, I'm not coming back. Ask several of my employers over the years. Boom, boom. Anyway, the other thing is, of course, that agent productivity. If you're sitting there going, and the customer's sitting there going, and the customer asks you a lot of inane questions, you're not really being very efficient. And so, to summarize, doubt, confusion, hesitation, these things are a major concern. And what you've got in this booklet that I'm encouraging you to download, there is no selling, there's no, I won't see a mailing list or anything like this. I've given it to Martin to distribute in the best possible way. It's really 4 things, yeah? If you want to address something like doubt or confusion, these things, you need to be able to describe it in a way that everybody in the team can understand. Simple rule number 1. 2, you need to get everybody in the team on the same page, to listening for it, describing it, noting examples of it. Then you need to look at things that you can do in order to address it. Maybe give information in a different place. Maybe make your conversation a little easier to understand. And then you go back around and check it again and check it again. And it's that simple. But first of all, I need to talk very briefly about describing the kind of breakdowns that you get. So I'm not going through these in a huge amount of detail. I'm just going to give you some examples, but you will see this in your little ebook if you choose to download it. So there's hesitation and long pauses. Okay, that's a few seconds, but if that's repeated 10,000 times in a week, then those few seconds are costing you time. But there's also not just the time, there's the other impacts of that. It's what you're hearing is the customer experience dissolving, the trust dissolving because we're not communicating. Repetition is a great example. People will repeat things that they're uncertain about. People will want you to reinforce the fact, yes, when we said it was free, we meant it was free. Irrelevant questions. If someone's asking you the wrong question at this point in the relationship, there's something not quite right. People may be having difficulty making the big decision. Can you break that decision down? Misunderstandings, incoherence, frustration, irritation. When I don't understand things, I get cross. Say 25% of people when interviewed about this kind of stuff. Yeah, requesting repeated confirmation. So you're sure it's free. You're absolutely certain that it's free. And so there are a whole series of things that you might notice. I've given you a list of things that I've noticed in the 10 million that we did using our technology. Yeah, this is not the ultimate list. This is just a list. Add to it. Listen to your own phone calls. Use it. Is the caller calling for something that you can actually deliver? Is one of the most fundamental pieces of uncertainty. I'd like to book an appointment for you to come and fit my carpet. Well, you can't do that because we haven't measured it up and you haven't ordered it yet. Is it the right conversation at the right time? It's the silly stuff. Notice it. Pay attention. Is the right context there? Find out what's going on and listen carefully. So you'll find a load of tips in the little ebook. And just to conclude very quickly, everybody needs to play, from your agents through to your team leaders, through to the QA capability, through to compliance. Listen out for those behaviors. Put them into some kind of spreadsheet. Just make a note of them. Find the reference points in the particular conversation so everybody's got that same language. Everybody understands the same thing. Finally, look at where those confusions, where those hesitations, where those things happen, and see if there's something you can do. I'm now going to put you through to an agent. It would be handy if you had your account number and a pen and paper ready. Maybe that's all you need to do to reduce 5 seconds off 1,000,000 calls. But have that conversation internally that goes, here's something we notice. This is where it occurs. This is why we think there's the problem. And this is what we can do to fix it. There's no magic in understanding customer experience. There's no wonderful, 5 great rules to do it. It's about noticing what's real and then actioning that. If you're asking me the wrong question at the wrong time, that's our fault. We've put you on the wrong path. Now, what can we do to fix that? What can we do to separate information down, making it easy for people to understand? So finally, set yourself some targets. Once you know what you're doing, then see if next month things get better. I've done confusion analysis and some quick training for one organization, and we got a 5% bump from spending 5 minutes just getting people to ask questions in a slightly different order. Just noticing where people are confused and why they're confused. Maybe it's because it is the wrong question at the wrong time. There's lots you can fix with confusion. It's got real meat in terms of cost, and make this into a continuous process. It's time you started analyzing behavior, uncertainty, emotions. These things have real value. And I'm not talking about the popcorn of public sentiment, the nice words versus the nasty words. I'm talking about understanding if someone gets frustrated or nervous at this point, it's costing you money. You need to demand more of your suppliers, but you also need to demand more of yourself in terms of listening to the calls and getting into the details. Listen, for me, this has been fantastic fun. I'd like to thank everybody for their attention and time. And of course, Martin, you're an absolute legend. Much appreciated. So thank you very much. I hope I haven't overstayed.
You absolutely haven't. And we've talked about this a couple of times. Thank you so much for this kind of piquing our interest and giving us something to really think about. I absolutely recommend people getting this ebook that Morris put together. I've got a couple of questions, if that's okay, Morris.
I'm here all night. Well, not literally.
Here we go. Let me just pick up this comment here. Fabulous, great practical approach. That time flew. Thanks, Danny. And I really do think as well, I can't help but think I wish when I was running contact centers and then moved into QA that I knew about this, because I'm just thinking, would you recommend that you take maybe part of your QA team, and whether that's an actual QA team or some of your team leaders, and said, look, to mix things up a bit, instead of going through our standard scorecard, we devise a scorecard that captures some of those headings that you said make up uncertainty and confusion, like hesitation, repetition, some of those asking out of context questions. And just to identify, you showed an Excel there where, based on your own research, the amount of hesitations, I think it was something like 5,000. Would you recommend that that's something that people do, that they go, right, let's have a look at this, let's just see what is out there based on that criteria?
Absolutely. So in the example I showed, hesitation occurred because it was designed in. They asked the wrong question at the beginning. They asked the question, how can I help you today? And although that sounds like the right question, if I don't know how to describe what I want in relation to how you might understand it and fix it for me, what you've got is the road to hell. What you've got is the road to confusion. So by just changing the question slightly, this is where the 5 minutes training came in, I could guide the customer into a better version of that question of how can we help, without taking away any of the friendliness and without making it into more of a script. But really what I would say is I analyze huge volumes of interactions because I work with technology that allows me to simply plug in a flag and say, I want to hear confusion, I want to hear hesitation, I want to hear repetition. You know, it identifies this stuff. And so I'm able to see that this stuff has real cost impact. 50% is an average across the various different interactions that we looked at. Where it occurred, it added 50% to the cost, and that's real neat. And the other thing is, you know, we're an embattled species, we call center types. Having a victory, doing something practical that everybody understands. I mean, that was the basis of all of my work historically, trying to do simple things that everybody understands. Yeah.
I love it. Let's just pick up another couple of awesome, a sensible fact-based approach that could be implemented immediately. And I don't know if thank you, Rob. And I don't know if you saw this, Maurice. Great insight, Maurice. Enjoyed that. Lots of takeaways from Tim.
Thank you, guys.
So, Maurice, absolutely brilliant. And like I say, you kindly have given me the ebook, but I recommend for people that want to know more, get in touch with you. I'll share the details in the newsletter as well. This recording's obviously going to be on LinkedIn and YouTube, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. I know we spent a good couple of hours talking about this, and what I love is, as people have picked up on, it's practical. As you said, it can give contact centers wins. And I just think it's a really nice way of evidencing something that is sometimes a bit nebulous, you know, like customer experience. We've all picked at some of those measures in the past on this show. This is something that you can say we've reduced hesitation by 25%, which has meant this much cost saving, you know, and that's the kind of stuff that we need to be doing.
I think it's really important to be able to demonstrate things that are useful. The only thing I would say is, of course, you know, I was one of the first customer experience managers in banking. I was Lloyd's Bank's first customer experience manager. And people used to say to me, all that customer experience stuff is woolly. I've never found it to be so.
Yeah.
There is a wow effect, and that can cost money, and it will work or it doesn't work. But the business case around customer experience is a pound, shillings, a pence, is it is a dollar and cents thing. It's you know, there is no magic in the business case, but you know. Anyway, it's been absolutely fabulous. And
well, let me just show you a few more. Let me just show you a few more comments, Maurice. Simple yet things that have probably flew under the radar when looking at the other AHT. Sore thumb sticking out, says Dan. Rob says, "Who should we follow?" You ask. Maurice Pentel. Very, very true. Andrew says, "Thank you, Maurice. Really enjoyed it." Aman says, "I've already sent a connection request, Maurice. I would love to speak to you more about the whole subject. Thank you for your insight." And Maurice Pentel, how do we contend with sentiment or pauses or uncertainty with dealing with centers in different parts of the world?
So that's a really good question. The short answer is I now cheat. We have AI technology, and it detects behaviors. So I've recently been working on a thing where I was listening to the platform which flagged sadness in Chinese and in Turkish for me to analyze. Otherwise, the cultural thing is something that you have to adjust to. And I'm a highly skilled conversational analyst in English, but without tools, I wouldn't think that even with translation, I could analyze well different cultures and languages. So you do need local language expertise, but study Liz Stokoe, study talk, study conversation analytics, and you know, some of you were talking earlier about previous predictions and whether or not they would stand up. Look at some of my old ones where I talk about the early days of customer experience. The rules are still the same. It's all about the detail, small detail. And yes.
Thank you for that question, Deepak. And Darren says, thanks for this. Really straightforward and practical advice. Loved it. So, Morris, thank you so much for doing this. And I know that you are happy to do a longer session. And it seems like from the questions, that would be something that people would love.
If people download the little ebook from you, and if they'd like to have a session to go through it in more detail, I'm more than happy to do it. You know,
let me just pick up one more question. Hey, Spencer, good to see you. Morris, what are your thoughts on AI?
They're many and complex. I have a complex relationship with AI. From on one hand, being extremely concerned about the impact it's having on the environment and the unfettered use of it, which is a real practical thing. But also, people came up with questions earlier about automated QA. And I work with AI to do automated QA. I work with AI to detect vulnerable customers at a level that has never existed before. So on the one hand, I'm extremely concerned about some uses of it. But on the other hand, I'd like our technology, or, you know, not the company I work for, but this technology that can detect vulnerable customers, I'd like that to be a legal standard. So, you know, I'm at both ends of the spectrum, and in the middle, I hate the commercial use of it because I am so tired of being people's product.
Morris,
which is why I'm not wearing any logos.
It's always insightful.
I just made that up.
It's always insightful and entertaining to talk to you. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you for a great show, and I love the show. It's one of the few things I make the time to see every month.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Morris.